actually going to start our program with something that some of you may recognize if you played strings with us last year. It's a fun piece. The name of the piece is Allegro, which means happy in Italian. And we're going to play it twice. Those of you who played with us last year will remember the melody, which is what we're going to play first. It has some interesting bowing techniques in it. You'll see some bow circles where we do a quick retake back to the bottom of the bow, which is interestingly called the frog, even though it doesn't look like one. And we're going to play the piece twice. The second time through, you'll hear some interesting harmony parts, especially coming from our cellos. And our new section to the orchestra this year in the 5th grade is our bass section. So we have 2 basses supported by Mrs. Jakes, because they just started playing the bass in like late November, I think. So they are very new to their instruments back there. And you'll hear them playing a harmony part along with Allegro. Oh, I should warn you, there's something in Allegro in the middle of the piece called a fermata. It looks like this in the music. It looks like a little semicircle with a dot in it. It's written over or under the note. And what it means is follow the leader, because that note will be held extra long at the leader's discretion. So I get to decide each time we play it how long that note will be. So everyone's going to be watching me. But just an audience heads up, that fermata is not the last note of the piece. There's still another part of the piece to go. So you'll hear that happen twice. This long note that's not actually the end of the piece. So hold your applause for the very end. When I put my instrument down, you'll know it's the end of the whole song. Allegro. They must be feeling pretty good right now, as am I, with that first piece, because it really demonstrated the group playing with a lot of unity in their bowing style, and also the focus and concentration to play exactly the same length of note when the inner beat of the pulse of the music stops. It's kind of a scary thing to do as a group, and just to hold and to come back in all together. It's a really advanced skill, and they're doing great. Our next song is called Roundelay, and it's also going to demonstrate some new bowing styles that we've been working on. The beginning has accented notes, which means there's like a very sharp beginning to the note, and then you'll hear later on in the piece some very smooth legato style bows. So this is kind of varying our different bowing styles. You'll also hear a middle section in this piece, which is going to be played by a smaller group, and then the whole group comes back in to finish this song. So enjoy Roundelay. So we just did two pieces which really demonstrate a lot of the bowing work we've been doing with accented notes and more legato bow strokes. And now we wanted to show you something that's less polished, but something new that we're working on that's actually a new finger pattern. So a new note pattern that we haven't done before that will give us access to some different kinds of sounds for future pieces. But we thought we'd give you like a little window into what we've been working on and some of our strategies for learning new things. One strategy for learning new things is to do it on a song that you already know. So we're going to show you Hot Cross Buns, which most people learned as third graders, using the regular note pattern F sharp E D. For those of you who did learn it in the third grade, you might remember that. And then we're going to show you our new note pattern, which is a technique called Lotu for violins and violas. It's second fingers for cellos and basses. And that pattern is going to be F natural E D. We're changing from F sharp to F natural. That's the only note that's changing in that song. But I think you're going to hear a big difference in the melody when we play it the regular way and when we play it with F naturals. So we'll play the regular Hot Cross Buns, followed by something with F naturals that we decided to call cold cross buns. So hot cross buns and cold cross buns. See if you think it sounds like that. For what that second version of Hot Cross Buns could be. We thought cold cross buns because it's been really cold outside, but we also had sad cross buns, soggy cross buns, a lot of different options there. So insert your favorite adjective for what you think the F natural pattern sounds like. We have one other thing that we wanted to show you that's not a song. It's more F natural patterns. And we're going to do these patterns like copycat style. So I'll play the pattern, and the group will play the pattern. And this is another way for us to really model how we learn things. What we showed you at the beginning were polished, finished pieces ready for a concert. Now you're going to see a little bit the inner workings of how we would work on a piece from the beginning. You're not going to hear the whole finished piece until maybe at the end of your concert, but we're going to let you in on us starting to learn some patterns from a new piece. The piece is called Ancient Mother, but you're just going to hear some copycat patterns, and they all use an F natural. So see if you can hear a similarity between that second version of hot cross buns that you just heard, the cold cross buns, and some of these new patterns from Ancient Mother. Figure out when you're doing copycat and something starts with a silence. Let's try that last pattern one more time. The third very brave, showing you something really new that they're working on that's not completely polished yet, but I thought it would be a good way for you to kind of see how we do our working and learning, and also for them to get just a chance to try some of these new patterns without it being in the middle of a piece yet. So stay tuned. You'll hear some more of those kind of patterns in a piece that we'll be playing at the end of the year. And right now we have a special piece that our small little group is going to play, and I'll let Ms. Garrett introduce them.
Hey everybody. I am so impressed with the orchestra. They sound so good, but I'm also impressed by the audience, I have to say. You're listening carefully, I can actually feel your listening. Isn't that an interesting thing? When it's peaceful, you can feel listening. Beautiful. We're going to play a small group who meets once a week. We're just going to play one little piece for you. It'll sound very familiar. It's a little arrangement of William Tell Overture, and it's a tiny little group playing, so we won't have the big sound of the big organ.
continuing with another song that some of you from previous string years will recognize from last year, and other people might recognize the melody just because it's really famous. It's a song called Can Can, and those of you who've played it with us before will notice a lot more people playing a lot more notes. Because in last year's version, some people played some things and not others, and now we have almost the whole group playing almost everything, except in the middle section, we kept a small group because we think it sounds cool to go back and forth between the big group and the small group. So enjoy our version of Can Can. Our final piece for you today is called Rustic Dance. It's by Mark Williams, and it's for the full group. You will, some of the techniques that we're working on in this are, there is a repeat, which everyone's going to remember about. And then we have some differences in our bow strokes. You'll hear a rhythm that we call Everybody Stop Stop a lot in this piece, but sometimes it's just Everybody Stop. So there's a little challenge in there for all the sections to know when they're playing which rhythm. So enjoy Rustic Dance by Mark Williams.
always very impressed with the beautiful sound they make. Great job, you guys all sounded terrific. If you really want to show your appreciation, sometimes after a musical performance, people will not only clap, they will say bravo, right? So if you would like to, on three, we'll all say bravo. Then 1, 2, 3. Bravo! And that is Ms. Clemens and Mrs. Garrett as well, who don't want to thank themselves.
And
of course.
Mrs. Jakes in the
And of
back.
course the players. So one more round.